So, we will start with Mark. Let me. It's on. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Have we had a phenomenal time so far?
So if you like, you can put in your pocket so you can have more.
So I'm just going to talk briefly about 4 or 5 different things. But the first thing that I want to say is I'm very grateful for Jorge letting me be here and for creating this space, so thank you. How many of you remember the first time you said something that was inappropriate to somebody and you got shut down because you received the information somewhere in your head? Anybody? So that's the thing, is we didn't learn discernment as a child, and so you just spoke it out, and then you got shut down. So I noticed in talking to a couple of people, you know, they felt inhibited because I asked somebody if they wanted to share something in my talk, and they said no. And I respect that, because we learn to shut ourselves down because of society's acceptance or unacceptance to us. So, out of curiosity, how many see things?
How many what?
See things. How many hear things? How many know things? Okay, so, or a combination of all 3. There you go. So, there's no school as a child to learn this. So, it's trial and error. So, I applaud all of us, including myself, for going beyond that. So, one of the things, we had a great talk yesterday with Linda about the solar disk. And I wanted to talk a little about that with my own personal experience, because that happened out of being here in Peru. My first journey, meeting Jorge, was in 1999. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a translation.
Oh, they're here already. Actually, we're not here before. So we're going to translate. You don't speak Spanish?
No, I don't speak Spanish at all.
Okay, so. No,
Let's get
okay, here. So you will get a time each time you speak slowly, so I will be.
Simultaneous interpreter. Is amazing.
So in 1999, my friend Nancy, and I'm traveling with this time, we came to Peru, and we actually met Jorge quite by accident, because we were traveling with 2 people that were guides, and we were meeting Jorge for the first time to see how they could use him, and they said, we were their guests, but we couldn't ask questions, and so we were quite impressed. Anyway, after meeting him after the whole day, we went to Copacabana and to the Island of the Sun. And in the Island of the Sun, I found this little alcove cave-like, and I climbed in there, and the energy that went through me was totally electrifying. I could feel the energy of the earth and vibrate through my body, incredibly strong. It was one of the first things that I can remember that made such an impact on me. So when I was also meditating on Machu Picchu, the mountain spoke to me and said, we have so many gifts to give you, but as long as we're in the age of man versus the age of brotherhood, we cannot share, because it will be not used appropriately. And so,
if you can run it.
I apologize.
It's under the story.
I have to breathe. So I was just excited because my whole journey is, to me, so amazing that I did not consciously plan any of this. It's what I call the cosmic pool, constantly pulls at all of us, and it's how we respond and answer to that pull that our lives evolve to what it becomes. And that's the blessing that the universe gives us. So life is a required course. When you sign up to do it, it's optional. Some people go through their whole life and never do the course of life. Those of us in this room have chosen to participate and be part of life and create the evolution of who we are and who we're becoming. And that, to me, is the blessing that we have, and to honor ourselves, because it is out of the honoring of ourselves that we are here. So in 2006, I was living in Florida, and I got a call to do a master's journey in California, so I flew back there. And I had lived in California for 33 years. And while in this energy portal, the solar disk came to me and downloaded for the next 2.5, 3, 4 hours. I had no idea, but the whole night I was immersed in the energy of the solar disk for the first time that I was aware of. 3 months later, I had the opportunity to come back to Peru and did a week with Jorge. And we spent one night on one of the islands off of Puno. And I was guided to stand on top of the roof. It was just a one-story mini hotel. And as I stood there, the solar disk came up out of the lake and just started beaming its energy into my body. And I just stood there a while. It was an awesome, amazing experience. And again, it's personal to me because that was my experience. So that was the second time in that same year that I really owned the solar disk, which I've continued to use in certain ways ever since. Fast forward again now, 2011, Jorge put the call out. Is Heather here? For the activation of the solar disk. And there was well over 200 people there, and Heather, who I met yesterday, was there also, so she knows the experience. And as we were in the cradle of the mother of the mountain and the temple, the energy was not something I could describe. And maybe Jorge can, because he was there leading this. But he said, all the time that he's gone to that island, the city fathers came and opened the temple for us. And we celebrated in the temple of the womb of the mother there. And there was a sundog, like a rainbow, around the sun for over 2 hours as it beamed down into us.
2 rainbows.
See?
2.
Yes. They call it a sundog. So it's been an amazing journey, and here I find myself in Peru today, open to the experience, led this great rendition of the discs around the world that have been found and everything. So whatever calls to, and this is my experience, we all have our own experience. Just answer the call to however that leads you and brings you to wherever it does. So in 2008, I was in California again, and the disc came to me, and so I'm going to and you cannot translate this. I'm just going to sing to you as what comes through me, through this, in the energy. So just open yourself to receive whatever that energy is and that flow. Alamakia sakambe shikai, ilamapusikai shikambuasika, ulamakuya makaya sakamboshi, alakaya kaya sambua, ushimakaya sikila kapaya ayu iyangai, alamakuya sakabaya shika ayasuku, ijamakaya sakoma iai, Ulakia sakia mashika asikwa iapu. So receive that blessing to however that goes into your physical body. I want to go back 1986. I did a Reiki class. How many of you have done Reiki? Many of you. So this is the first time I ever saw something. So the woman's doing the energy blessing to make me a Reiki first degree. And I'm standing there in awe because behind her I see 7 Tibetan masters, 20 to 40 feet tall, pushing this energy through into me. And anyway, I just wanted to share the first time I ever saw something because it was so impactful. And since then I've seen many, many things, but that was just my first time. So I wanted to share that real quick. So somewhere, also in 2008, I started having interactions with unicorns. Anybody? Okay, a couple of you. And about 8 years ago, I was walking in a field. There were many of them there, and they came to me, and they touched me with their horn, and they actually gave me a horn, which then resided in my heart chakra. So just a few months ago, I bought a book called Unicorn Rising.
What's the name?
Unicorn Rising. And she talked about the same experience. So it was the first time that I had validation that something that I experienced that somebody else does. And that's why I kind of started with, you know, how many times things happen to us that we don't share because we feel people will think we're crazy. Which, in some regards, we are or not. But anyway, so in the book, there's a whole process of taking you through receiving the unicorn blessing, receiving the unicorn horns, which I've done now through my hands. So my healing work has taken on a new dimension when I do healing people through my hands. So if anybody's interested in doing that with me, it's about 30 minutes. And you can either see me later, and Jorge can make a time for us so we can do that if you're interested. But it's a very powerful experience. So unicorns, I just want to share one thing now. I can't find what I wanted to say now. Unicorns have existed since the dawn of creation, but they have come into our awareness at pivotal times of ascension, when humanity is ready to break through old paradigms and raise its collective consciousness. And she says on November 11th, 2011, which is today is 11/11, we entered such a golden age, the age of Aquarius, a 2,000-year cycle that mirrors our desire to live fully and freely as a united race. So unicorns are an aster of spirit, and they can be our greatest allies in managing our own shifts of consciousness. And so we can invite them into us. And you don't need me to do that, but I'm offering to help. So the last thing that I want to speak on briefly is dragons. Now, I've talked to several of you, and many of you have felt dragon energy. Some of you have seen dragons in the sky, and it talks about that here in the book, that when you see that energy, and the dragons are here as a protective for us in this enclave right now. So they are assisting us. And the dragons have also been here since the beginning of time. And so they have come back more now in order to help us move through this next stage of our evolution. So the dragons remind us that the journey to dragon mastery is threefold.
Could you repeat the last part, please? Dragon, remember.
The dragons remind us that the journey to dragon mastery is threefold.
Three parts.
Three parts. The first is to develop both feminine and masculine qualities so that we are balanced at all times. The feminine part brings kind, caring, loving, patience, healing, and open-hearted, among others. Masculine qualities including strength, power, mental and emotional control, determination, courage, and the ability to make clear decisions. The second is to master the elements. And the third is to stay aligned in your truth with power all the time.
The second was, you said?
Master the elements. And can you get the third?
Third? Yeah, didn't repeat.
Okay. The third is to stay aligned to your truth with power all the time. So the dragons will work with you as you become a beacon of light. Anyway, if you have personal dragons, which I talked to somebody already that did, you're welcome to look at the book because it lists lots of dragons. I have a personal dragon. His name is Murphy. And I only found out about 6 years ago. And again, I don't know how long he's been with me, other than probably forever. But only in my awareness about the last 10 years. I have 2 unicorns, Molly and Manny. So I have the 3 musketeers. Murphy, Molly, and Manny. The 3 M's. So, does anybody have a question or a comment that you'd like to make?
Thank you.
Huh?
Just thank you.
Okay.
The transmission that was coming to me was very, very powerful when you were chanting.
Thank you.
And then also maybe 3 to 5 unicorns were coming.
Great. Okay.
And I felt the horn coming through me, through my heart, and then I had it here.
Yes. Okay. So usually you get them in 4 places. One is in your heart. She asked me about the unicorn horns. So one's in your heart, one's in your third eye, and one is each in your palms. And that's what they do in that. So I'm just curious, did most of you get something with the channeling that I did? Was that powerful for you?
Maybe you could do it again.
Do it again. Yeah.
It made me feel like I heard from a very old friend. Just that ancient knowing there, remembering. Very, very powerful.
Can anybody translate what I said? You can? Do you want to share that?
At the beginning, then I brought the coordinates. I connected the coordinates together. Next, it opened up
Can't hear.
our minds. Next, it opened up our minds. And next, it downloaded. And then right when we were finished, it just shot like through all the
Thank you. So
She repeat that process of, I do not get to translate.
I understand. So she felt like she could interpret some of the channeling that I did.
Okay, basically, ella pudo interpretar sobre
So she felt like an opening that happened.
ella dice que sucedió una apertura.
It connected us with the coordinates.
It connected us with the coordinates of the universe.
So it's like a location. And it opened that available to us, the location of where it is. And then it downloaded.
And then she got a download of
The energy.
energy to move through your body.
And that was the interpretation that you were doing, was opening that.
So the interpretation was, what I was doing was opening portals in your body to receive, I'm going to use the word esoteric energy. Is that a good word? Esoteric energy? Okay. So, and I'll be happy to do it another time if you choose. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and with that, what came to me is that all of us resonate vibration and sound, and that we just need to realize that and tune in, because that's going to open us to the light and to truth.
So with that, if anybody has, if you want to borrow the book, you're welcome to. If you'd like to do the unicorn blessing to get the horns, I'll be happy to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.